Recognize me now!
Greetings, good brothers and good sisters. Time for another day of prey. It is day 4, and we're taking a look at Headstrong, the rhino, one of the legs of Predaking. And he is one of the more beefy guys.
Beefy.
Headstrong, along with Tantrum over there, who has been renamed Torox due to a loss of copyright or trademark on the name. Headstrong, like Torox, definitely has a thicker, more powerful, stout build, which is a good idea if he's going to form one of the legs of Predaking. With some of the earlier Transformers combiners, I'm thinking of the aerial bots, Defensor, the Protectobots, Bruticus and Menasor, Stunicons and Combaticons. All of the parts were pretty much interchangeable, and the torso is the only thing that had to be what it was originally assigned. But with Predaking, I think one of the reasons his combined mode looks so much better than some of the other earlier combiners is because the limbs are the proper proportion. It is part of the Patreon Special Missions request by Michael Choi, and the entire set of Power of the Primes Predacons is available at Big Bad Toy Store at the moment. So Headstrong does have a few sticker applications. Before I get to those, let's do a comparison with his G1 self. This is a KO, an older version KO of Predaking. So it's kind of flimsy quality, but we can get the look of it. He's got some yellow feet this time, which the original one did not have. I always love it when they carry over little details from the originals, and the sides of the legs, they nailed it. That's awesome. A little bit of rhino paneling there on the side of his leg, just as with the original one. And I especially like Predacons, Predaking. They really have this rivet design going on all over the place. These screws, visible screws, which just makes the armor plating seem that much thicker and more durable and powerful. So that's one of the nice things they carried over. Black legs, yellow torso has been carried over. One of the major details of the G1 figure are the rhino's feet come out of his chest. It's a very innovative form of transformation. Usually the legs swing into robot legs or swing back, hang off the back like with Razor Claw, but this guy's legs just pressed and collapsed into his chest, and that's not the case with the Power of the Primes version, but I really like that they have included that detail. It's a throwback. It's kind of like how Optimus Prime always has the truck chest, even though sometimes that's not the truck front when he transforms into truck. I'm thinking of Power Master Optimus Prime, the smaller version. So that's a cool little detail they've carried over. The heads are similar. I can't be too sure with this KO version. They did change the Rampage head, so I'm not sure if they changed this head as well, but it's pretty similar. Got the yellow face, the red head, and the arms are similar too. They've got this, see how this design hooks around the shoulder, and it's not part of the arm this time, but it's still in behind there, still red. Instead of a red forearm, they've given him a black forearm, which I think actually works better for the rhino mode. And then big difference on the back. The Power of the Primes version has this giant thigh that forms Predaking. So instead of setting it aside, maybe losing it, it's permanently attached to the robot, and it is kind of an eyesore. It is an eyesore, not kind of. With Dive Bomb, he had a lot of back kibble too, but it looked fantastic. Those wings just flying out, looking majestic. This, not so much. It'd be nice if you could use that for some sort of weaponry, but there really isn't much to do there. I guess if you wanted to have the same effect on the original version, you could take Predacon's foot and just stick it on his back so that at least they're both back heavy, but then this guy won't even stand if you add that added weight on his back. And here's what he looks like with his G1 sword. This one, not as good. It's not as compatible as the swords for Dive Bomb, Razor Claw, and Rampage, just because this guy is bigger than those other three guys. So the sword is looking kind of tiny in his arm. And I will do comparisons of how all these guys look together, both in robot mode and in animal mode, when I get to the Predaking review, where I combine all of them. And this is kind of interesting. Headstrong doesn't have any stickers to apply when he's in robot mode. All of the sticker applications are for animal mode. So let's take a quick look at all of his articulation. He's got about the same range as the other guys in the shoulders. It's always nice when they can go all the way up like that. 360, no problem with the shoulder joints. Nothing is impeding it there. Elbow bend is better than some of the other ones who are just stopping it there. That one goes a little bit past that. And this is part of the transformation, but he's even got, you never see this. He's got, this isn't even a real joint, but you can do that if you want, I guess. It moves, so it's there. He's got the elbow swivel, and then nothing in the fists. The fists don't fold in or fold back or anything like that, but this point right here is very, very intriguing to me. Wild. Waist twist. He does have a waist twist, and he can do a full 360. You do have to sort of move this giant thing out of the way if you want to move him, because it will hit his legs. And the head can do a full 360, and he can sort of look down, but it's not really. It's, again, part of the transformation. And it's just weird when it detaches like Dive Bomb. When it detaches from the rest of the robot, it's not really an articulation point for me. And the legs, Spartan kick, no problem. Super sturdy legs. That's fantastic. Even with this giant thigh on his back. Very, very sturdy. Knee bend is good. It's about the same as the others. And can twist out. Do those squat poses. Especially nice for such a powerful looking guy. And especially nice for a rhino character to have this type of hunched, squatting sumo pose. It's not really a pose that you'll normally do with most Transformers, but for a guy who's just this thick and rhino-like, he's not rhino-like, he is a rhino. That's a really cool pose to be able to do with him. Ready to spring into action. And he has a tendency to pop this panel off here, because that's all that secures it. Just this little peg right here. So it comes off very easily. But he does have the ankle tilt, and it's quite a bit. It's more than enough to stabilize him for any type of wide-legged poses. He's got really good stability. This thing on the back is heavy. I could just feel it by picking him up, holding him by it. I can feel that all of the weight of this guy, a lot of it is here. Like, this almost feels as heavy as the figure feels. So he's got really impressive stability despite this giant thing on his back. And one of the drawbacks of this figure, well, I think the biggest drawback is this just keeps popping out of place. Gonna need to secure it maybe with some clear nail polish or crazy glue, but the empty panels here, right, in the insides of his robo boots. So for a guy who's supposed to be the sturdy legs of Predaking, and he's sturdy and thick himself, you need a thick, sturdy, solid base for the figure himself, and he doesn't have that. It's just this open gap. And that's a little annoying on smaller guys like Masterpiece Bumblebee or some of the little Masterpiece guys. But for a giant, powerful rhino type of character, that's too bad that it's an open gap like that. So that's a big thing to try to just look past. But luckily, on the bright side, he does have this big armoring on the outside of his leg, which thickens them up a bit. I guess if you're looking at him from the right angle, he still looks pretty powerful. And he does include a weapon, which is not really a weapon, it's Predaking's foot. So this is also kind of a weird thing. It's got a peg right here, which he can hold in his fist. It's a tight squeeze. It's a lot tighter than the other weapons are. So he can hold it like a gun, but he can't hold it up. There's no way. It's not a ratcheting joint. There's not enough friction there. Can't reach forward and stabilize it with his other hand. Not even with this wild extra shoulder articulation. So that doesn't look bad, but he can't raise it up. So if you want him actually holding a colossal giant weapon, that's one way to do it. If you want him to actually be able to be in a pose where he's using it and firing off around at somebody, then what you can do is you can use this right here, this gap, and he has them on either sides of his shoulders. And you can take this right here, this part, and just feed it in, wiggle it in, and it'll grip it nice and tight. So then he's got a huge shoulder cannon, which he can sort of stabilize with his fists right here. And that's actually not bad. That's such a giant weapon that it looks like it should be stabilized on his shoulder instead of just being held in his fists. These knees, they have nice ratcheting joints, so they'll keep him from falling forward, but he's got the same issue as some of the other Predacons do. His trouble is in the hip joints, and he wants to fall down by doing the splits, which he's got the least range of all of the Predacons that we've looked at so far, and I don't think Tantrum will be any different. Just getting in his way here because of the edges of these, and that's probably a good thing. He shouldn't have more flexibility than Razor Claw or Rampage. So the shoulder cannon can be mounted on either side if you want. Plug it into there. It's nice and sturdy, which is important. It's so heavy that you don't want that falling off. But here's what happens when you do attach. He wants to do the splits, or he wants to fall over this way. That's a lot of weight to be carrying on one side. So in order to pull it off, you're going to have to bend the knees, give him a little bit of that sumo squat pose, because straight-legged, he's not going to want to do it. As far as this thing goes, it can fold up, I guess. I don't know. It's a foot. It's not like this is infinitely better than this. It's just a foot that they found something to do with while this guy's in robot mode. But I do like how the fist up here sort of looks like it's grabbing onto something in there. Maybe that's a trigger. This post in there can maybe be a trigger, and he's holding it and using it to fire off. Whew, that packs a wallop. So to transform him, the arms are really easy. All you have to do is straighten them, turn them this way, and then push them into the body. What's happening here is that this is the robot's front, this is his chest, but it will become the rhinoceros's back. So to do that, you just turn the rhino head around and take the other arm, straighten it out, turn it, pop it in and secure it. This thing can secure, thigh secures back into the robot. But before we do that, let's take care of the legs, and This part's easy because it wants to do it anyway. Just detach the front parts of the legs from the back parts by popping that peg off in there. And you're going to collapse. These kind of look like ape feet. It's almost like an alternate mode. Looks like an ape version or something. I don't know. Anyway, you can see the other rhino legs are folded up into here, so you can just pull them out and repeat on the other side. Pull those out. Now these panels right here are going to fold up, and then you've got a peg right here is going to feed into the hole right here. Click. Again on the other side. And if it's not clicking, it's because this knee needs to come out more. So if you just turn it as far as it can, then you'll be able to press and secure that in. And these, you're going to want to collapse both of these panels right here into his back, like that. Fills out his yellow back, and right here is a peg, right here is a hole, so you know you've lined everything up correctly if that'll peg right into there. So if I'm going to show you what happens if you're off by just one notch on the knee. Just off by one, that might line up, but the bottom one won't. And when you apply pressure, this knee will pop into the spot it's supposed to be in, so that you can peg both underneath as well as on top. Now this thigh, just press it in, and you're going to secure. And again, if it feels like it's not lining up properly, see how this peg inside is not actually going for that hole. What I'm doing here is I'm pushing this thing downward, and it's just clicking into the spot it's supposed to be in. And these actually fit fairly well. Doesn't feel like they're popping out as easily as the leg did in robot mode. And here you have a Stranger Things upside down Demogorgon rhinoceros sort of thing. And here he is in the proper rhino mode. And now that he's fully transformed in rhino mode, we can apply the stickers. Alright, we got all of Headstrong's stickers applied, and that was mercifully short. I didn't plan it out that way, just got lucky that weren't as many stickers this time out after all of those dive bomb stickers. And these really help in Rhino mode. I especially liked applying this one. I like it when you have to navigate over things like these rivets when you're putting stickers on. When you're just sticking them on a flat surface, that can be especially difficult because you're trying to... Oh, look how gleaming that is. Beautiful. Sort of like up here when you're just trying to stay in a square and you're off by just a little bit. That can be kind of irritating. But I like the challenge of trying to get it around things like that and in that. And it's totally like a puzzle piece, trying to get a puzzle piece to fit in. A little bit of shininess there on the side. Shoulder too, like the chrome Decepticon symbols they have on him. But those top ones are especially nice, especially shiny. These aren't as shiny. They're kind of more of a matte, metallic look to them. They make them look really nice. And he's got a great looking rhino mode. Really nice and powerful. The thigh from Predaking is not as big a deal in rhino mode as it was in robot mode. This almost feels like it's riding up too high. There we go. Clicked right into place. It bulks him up. It makes him more girthy. So if that wasn't there, you can just imagine he'd be kind of like a skinny looking lithe rhino. That extra bulk underneath there really makes him look nice. Here's his G1 version, which is a really stocky little guy too. And he's got the black feet, black front legs, black back legs as well. And for this one, they've managed to be able to give him black rhino legs in rhino mode and red robot arms in robot mode, just like the original one. So that's a clever way of getting both looks, even though it's a different, totally different transformation. He's got the red back legs too. And that's with the Jinbao Feral Rex oversized Headstrong. And once again, second time in a row, I think I prefer the Power of the Primes version. I like Razor Claw and Rampage in the Feral Rex style, but this guy is too... He looks more like a tiger. He doesn't look like a rhino. He doesn't have that stoutness and that girth. He's kind of doing like a spider impression here. He is floppy, like the Jinbao Feral Rex ones are. But I think the Power of the Primes one captures the essence of the original one, definitely. But I think also it just looks more rhino-like to me. For articulation, he can look up, but not really, because it's coming apart from his body. This is a really weird spot right here. His mouth looks like it should open. It looks like it's a separate piece. And you look up in there, and there's like a gap in there. It should be able to open. It looks like it should, but it doesn't. It's a solid piece, and that's too bad. That's a nice little touch for any beast mode of a transformer, to be able to open the mouth. The head does go left and right, which is cool. You can give that little whimsical rhino head tilt. Really nice horn on it too. The front legs, there isn't much until you do this. So as part of the transformation from robot to rhino mode, the arms do swing out, and you can swing them out in rhino mode too to give them a little bit... Whoa. As I was saying, the arms can pop out like this, and you can use that funky joint that we saw earlier more in rhino mode by bending the arms out. And again, it's sort of spider-like, but it's more range if you want it, just to give him more of a charging look. The trouble is the back legs don't have almost any range. It's just up and down. There's no in and out on these things. There's no foot articulation. It just bends at the knee. So that's what limits a lot of his posability and is going to keep him basically looking like that. The feet do still bend where they bend at the elbow in robot mode. So you can sort of point his feet out a little bit, but this guy's not really made for posability when he's in rhino mode. He's just made to stand there and look like he's about to charge something. These don't move. Well, I guess they sort of do, but as soon as you start moving this stuff, things start popping out of place. He starts coming apart. So he's got a lot less play value in rhino mode. I guess as a rhino should. Rhinoceroses aren't really things that you can put into all sorts of funky, wild poses. Like so. I'm curious if I can get him to... Oh, how about that? Yeah, that's pretty cool. And you can arm him in rhino mode by taking his weapon, the Predacon foot. And this connection is kind of weird. This is a big cannon right here. This is a big rhino, and the way you attach them is by taking these two holes right here and fitting them into these two holes right here, which you would think, and they just connect on that one side. I was trying to figure out for a while, how does all this stuff right here connect into all of this stuff? But it's just these two feed into these two holes, or if you have the other foot, they'll feed into those two holes. They're interchangeable with Tantrum over there. But you just pop those in there, or these two holes right here, right there, and you gotta wiggle it because it doesn't want to just easily slide in there, and it feels like it's barely in there. Here's what's going on the other side. This little post right here, it's just resting on the back of the rhino. It's not actually plugged in there. And that's it. It takes next to no pressure to pull it out. Just held in there in that one little spot on that one little side. It's an odd connection point. And that armors up your Headstrong, so you can have him using Predacon's foot as a cannon. I always liked how that looked. Sometimes when you take the Combiner Giant's parts and you just tack them on in vehicle mode, it looks weird. Like the Protectobots having pieces of Defensor on themselves in vehicle mode. But I always thought that fit Headstrong and Tantrum. So that to me looks cool. That is a nice throwback to the G1 version, and it's nice that there's something you can do with Predaking's foot when these guys are all in animal mode, because there isn't really much you can do with his fists. These are clearly fists, and there's no way to hide that by sticking it on Dive Bomb or on Rampage. But luckily, with Headstrong and with Tantrum, aka Torox, the feet do look pretty good on their backs. That's 4 down and only 1 more to go until we get to Predaking. Shout out to the Patreon tribe for powering this video as well as all the other videos you see on this channel. Warm welcome to new member Sean Switz, who joins the elite rank of Ninja. And a shout out to all the other ninjas in the Patreon tribe. Scott Orr, Eric Lutz, Iron Lords Podcast, Cameron Johnson, Nicholas Stephen, Adam Brown, Disney fans LJK, Maddie C, Jason, Greg Blanchette, Terrence Sebrin, William Bear, Matthew Pierpont, Derek Naveau, Vince, Chris Burfield, Sean Taff, and Drew Walker. Thank you, and thank all of the patrons for supporting this channel and providing it Patreon power. Got a friend who's sort of on the fence about Power of the Prime's Predaking? Feel free to share these videos with them. Leave a rhino rumbling in the comment section. And to join the tribe, charge, subscribe. Nerd mistake.